So now we've seen how to declare variables, how to print values, and how to do assignments and calculations. The one part that we need this week is how to input values. So let me start with a piece of pseudocode that you'd see in the book. You might see something like display, please enter your name, and then input name, and then display hello, comma, name. And we'd have to declare string name. So name is going to be a piece of text. And let's go ahead and see what the code looks like for this. So we'll start by declaring name. It's an empty piece of text. And then we'll use print the same way. Please enter your name. And then the Python for this input statement is a little different from the pseudocode. So in Python, there's something called a function, and it's called input. I'll explain that double quote in a second. But basically, input, when Python sees this input, what it's going to do is sit there and wait until the user types in a value, and then whatever the user typed in is going to be returned as a piece of text from this input. So this is going to return a value, and then I can use assignment to set the value of name equal to whatever the user typed in. So input is going to return a value, which is a piece of text, and it's going to be stored in the variable name. Then I can print hello and the value of name. So let's try running this. Please enter your name. So I'm going to click down here and I'm going to type my name and hit return, and it says hello Mark. So you'll notice that I put this double quote in here, which is a little mysterious. Well, in Python, the input function takes a prompt. And a prompt is a piece of text that you use to prompt the user to enter a value. So instead of having to have this print statement here where I print, please enter your name, I can actually do all of that right here in this input statement. And when I do it this way, it's not going to include a line break. So I want to go ahead and put a colon space. You'll see why in a second. I'm going to go ahead and run it. And now it says, please enter your name. And if I click down here, it puts the cursor right here after that space. So please enter your name. And now I type Mark, and it appears on the same line. And I hit return. And the rest of it works just the same. So basically, what I have in this line of code is really equivalent to both of these two lines here. So 2 lines of pseudocode, one display and one input, is really equivalent to writing this prompt and then waiting for the user to type input and then storing the value into this variable. So that's a little different, but not hugely so. Now, I do have one little problem here. So let me go ahead and show you a slightly different program. Declare integer, which is a whole number, x, and declare plus 3 as an integer. And then let's display, please enter a number. And then let's input the value of x. And then let's set plus 3 equal to x plus 3. And then display the sum of x and 3 is plus 3. So simple program just asks for input from the user, adds 3 to it, and outputs the result. Now, If we go ahead and implement this the way we have been, that'll be x is equal to 0 plus 3 equals 0, and then x equals input. Please enter a number. Once again, remember that this input statement here is doing double duty. It's really both displaying and inputting in our pseudocode. And then if we set plus 3 equal x plus 3, and then print this value here, it looks like it will output whatever number we type plus 3. But we're in for a little surprise. So let's go ahead and run it and see what it actually does. So please enter a number, and I'll type 3, and when I hit return, you'd expect it would type 6. I actually get an error. So what is this error? Can't convert int object to string implicitly. The problem is actually the value of x here. So let's go ahead and put a breakpoint right on this line, and I'm going to run the program under the debugger. So I'm going to click on the little bug icon instead of the run sign. And it says, please enter a number, so I'll type 3 again and hit return. So when you have a breakpoint on a line, the code runs up till there and then it stops, and you can look at the values. So if I hover over this x, you'll see it's single quote 3 single quote, which is a string, str single quote 3 single quote. I get the same effect if I click this plus and type in x. You'll see that the value of x is a string with the value single quote 3 single quote. So basically the bottom line is that x is not a number. It's a piece of text. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that, get rid of the breakpoint. And what's happening is it's trying to add something that's a piece of text to something that's an integer, and it doesn't know quite how to do that, so it gets an error. But what we really want to do is we want to take whatever the user input, whatever the user typed in, turn it into a number instead of a piece of text, and then add that number to 3. So there's a handy function for doing that in Python. If I want to take a piece of text and turn it into a number, I can say int like so. So everything inside here is going to be a piece of text, and then I'm passing that piece of text into int, and then int is returning a number, and then the addition should work fine. So let's see if that worked. Please enter number 3. Sum of 3 and 3 is 6. Try it again. 5 and 3 is 8. But now, if I type something like 5 in text, I get an error because this function int doesn't know how to take FIVE and turn it into a number. So we'll see how to handle this later on in the course when we get to input validation. But for now, all you need to worry about is that if you're trying to do math with something that isn't a number, you have to turn it into a number first. Now this also works for reals. So for example, let's write a different program. Let's do our area of the circle program again. Declare real radius. Declare real area. Display. Please enter the radius of the circle, and then we'll input radius, and then we'll set area equal to pi times radius, and then we'll display the area of the circle with radius is area So let's go ahead and write the program. So to convert a piece of text to a real number, we use float. So a float is a floating point number, which is the same thing as a real number in our pseudocode. And then here we'll input this piece of text. So it's going to output, please enter the radius of the circle. User will type in a piece of text. This is going to get converted into a floating point number, and then we can calculate the area. And then we're going to print the result. And let me go ahead and put a blank line in there. And that should be our whole program. Please enter the radius of the circle. Let's go 3. Area of a circle with radius 3 is 28. So let's go ahead and fix that. Double quote, curly bracket, colon, dot 2f, curly brackets, dot format area. And we'll run it again. Let's do 4 this time. Area of a circle with radius 4 is 50. So I think you know enough about input for Lab 2, and let me know if you have any questions.